Man turned down CNN because he had a previous commitment to be on this show. I am impressed. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest talk show in the history of Western civilization is about to begin. We have the greatest talk show guest in the history of Western civilization. The man who's going to bring sanity to the John Benet Ramsey case, Cyril Cacophony Wecht. How do you like that introduction, huh?
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Let me hear that pen. He's got his entourage with him and everything. I want to tell you. Bigger entourage than Sammy Davis Jr. I want to. Doug Hoerth, AM News Talk 1360, 3 to 6 weekday afternoons, and let's get started. Dr. Wecht is aboard, as he has been many times before, and be the good Lord willing, and the Crickstone Arms will be with us many times again. Meet the man on the telephone. I thought you were talking to a radio station or something when I met you. You've been all over the place in the last week and a half.
Yes, I think yours is the sixth radio interview today, and I did, what do they call it, Fox and Friends?
Yeah.
Friends of Fox or Fox and Friends.
Were you on them today, too?
I was at 6:25 this morning, yeah.
Oh, okay, because, well, they rotate. They had there's a Fox and Friends in the morning. You were on, okay,
yeah.
And then they've got that afternoon show. What's the name of those show at 1 o'clock? I can't think of it, Greg.
Dayside.
Dr. Bodden.
Yeah,
Dr. Bodden was on. You guys are in agreement on this one, by the way.
Yes.
Big time top terror with a bullet. Now,
yeah.
couple of quick points going into this. And Cyril was on the show a week and a half ago. We spoke briefly on the telephone. As you said off the air, and as I was going to say on the air, you couldn't make this stuff up.
No.
If you were to submit
way.
this to a major publishing house, they'd say, "Get out of here! You have got to be kidding!" But just before we get into the Ramsey thing in particular, to show you how nothing has changed, how everything really is the same, despite all of the communications that we have now on the 24/7 news, blah 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 blah. I'm not old enough to remember it. Dr. Wecht even is not old enough to remember it. But can you imagine what it would have been like had there been 24/7 news in 1930, 31, or 32, the Lindbergh kidnapping? Can you imagine what it would have been like?
Yes, that's right. This is what has made all the difference in the world, of course, the 24-hour coverage, the intensive coverage that is given to all these kinds of things. Would you agree with me, Doug? I'm not, I think we've talked about this before, much of a TV viewer. In fact, that's being very gracious. I hardly ever watch TV. My wife and I, we will watch news once in a while. She would like to watch a little bit more sometimes, and I tolerate it. But would you agree, Doug, that television is the visual version of tabloid
absolutely,
newspapers and magazines?
Absolutely.
Most of these, I'm not talking about, Larry King is different and some of the others are different, but these shows that come on and cover, what's going on and the advertising they do for it and so on, it's just like you're looking at the tabloids.
Well, very quickly, we'll talk about Boulder and how they blew it. Howard Kurtz is media writer for the Washington Post. He says, and I quote, "Will every anchor, correspondent, and producer who shamelessly hyped this story now apologize for taking the country for a ride? Don't hold your breath. This was such a sham from the opening moments. It instantly goes down with the greatest media embarrassments," and this guy's right, in modern history. "A strange, creepy character emerges from the shadows, says he killed John Benet a decade ago. Guy with no known connection to the family, a yutz whose own relatives, including an ex-wife who hates him, says he wasn't even in Colorado. This is what produces 25-hour-a-day cable coverage, causes network morning shows." Network went nuts. Even topped the evening CBS News 2 nights running. Aren't the TV types who pumped up this empty balloon just a little ashamed? Well, of course, media has no shame. We both know that. We talked, I guess it was a week and a half. Hey, but
you called me.
Before this guy got back to this country, once the wife said, and the lawyer says, to the best of her knowledge, this guy was home every Christmas, that was it. You knew and I knew this story was garbage.
Absolutely. And let me say that I believe much larger of a factor in the district attorney's decision to drop the charges was the inability to place him in Boulder than was the negative DNA result.
Yeah, we're going to get into that DNA business
yeah,
and contamination versus non-contamination. We'll get into
but
that.
But what I'm saying is, though, Doug, that if you don't have him in Boulder, forget about it. Right.
Forget about it. This was the thing, and the attorney did, as all attorneys do, to the best of her recollection. Sounded like John Ehrlichman at Watergate.
Yes.
To the best of her recollection, blah blah blah. And of course, I'm saying to myself, listen. Your husband wasn't home for the holidays. You were only married 7 or 8 years, whatever it was.
Three little kids at
exactly.
home.
You would know where your husband was on any given, as you said, the most important holiday of the year.
Of course,
Christians,
we're
Jews,
not,
whatever.
and we're not talking about, come to think of it, my husband said he was going down to the store to get some groceries, and he didn't come home until supper time, so I don't really know where he was in the afternoon.
Especially on Christmas Day.
He might have killed those 2 little girls, and so you're talking about 1,500 miles approximately, give or take, from Georgia to Colorado, plus he also then said that the reason he knew his way around the Ramsey home was that he was at a party 3 days before Christmas with his brother who worked for the Ramsey business. Well, that means those 3 days plus Christmas plus another day or so to get back, you're talking minimum 5 days away going into, during, and coming out of Christmas. You mean to tell me that family would not have known that he was absent for 5 days around Christmas? How in the world would they have forgotten? And people should keep this in mind, too. This woman is lawyered up, and a very good lawyer. Somebody told me that he was Barry Bonds' lawyer. I was impressed by the way he spoke on television. He has got to have told her that you better make darn sure that you're saying is your best memory. You could be wrong, but don't say anything that might be wrong, because they'll hit you with obstruction of justice faster than you can write your name down on paper. So she made that statement, and as you said, Doug, a couple of minutes ago, she disliked him then. She hates him now. She's sure as heck not going to come out with that kind of a cover statement for him. So here, why did the investigative authorities in Boulder, not go to the family before they made the hullabaloo and check and see whether there was any evidence? Why did they not check to see how many cars were in the family, whose car might he have used, what airlines flew from Atlanta or elsewhere into Denver, our airline ticket rosters still available, and so on, as well as, of course, collecting DNA. These are the things that had to have been done, and it is incredible that they were not done.
But was it not done possibly because, and we get back to media friends, again, by the second day, everybody knew the story was garbage, but news media, the guys that you've been on 100 times, and I don't blame you for being on it. Hey, you have an interest in the case. We all do, and that's why you do it. It's for ratings. It's all about selling.
There were still some people, right?
But my point is, by the second day, and Nancy I can't stand that woman. Nancy, they were just milking this thing for all it was worth, and dotting every I and crossing every T, and all we found out, quite frankly, in addition to the fact this guy had no more to do with it than I did, all we found out is what a sick so-and-so this guy really is. I've used this line several times. This is one of the few human beings on the face of the earth who could give Michael Jackson the creeps. I mean, this guy is weird.
He is, and he needs psychiatric help to be somewhat sensitive and decent about this. And I speak, a little bit as a physician there. He needs help, like a guy with a bad heart or cancer or kidney disease that is failing. He needs help.
But my point, I didn't make the point that I wanted to make. My point being that, can you in any way, shape, or form say, well, the reason this was handled the way it was handled is they desperately wanted to keep a media frenzy away, but unfortunately somebody leaked, and hence something we thought might be true was blown out of proportion by media? I mean, I don't know if the Boulder DAs said, well, the media is a co-conspirator in this nonsense or not, but would you make that case, or would you say that case is null and void?
Well, here's my take on the whole business. You've got to know a couple of things first going in. And you probably do know them, but very few people do. Not that they're secret, but, especially we're so far removed from Denver, Boulder. This district attorney, Lacey, came out 2-3 years ago and publicly, officially stated that she was absolving the Ramseys of any involvement in this matter, and she also said that there was no question that there was an intruder. Now, that is a mindset. And Doug, as every thinking person knows, once something gets imprinted deep within your cerebral cortex, it is so fixed that it will cause you to do things that even a criminal conspirator might stand back from and say, hey, you know, I plan to do something, or I have an idea of accomplishing something, but I can think a little bit about it, and I'm not going to do it, or I'm going to revise my plans. When you have a deeply ingrained mindset, then your subconscious doesn't permit you. And then there are other things that kicked in, which
and just to take that mindset one step further, you find that with cops, too, when they're investigating a mindset.
Absolutely.
Lou Lipschitz did it, that's it. Even when common sense says, no, maybe Lou didn't. Once that mindset is there, it's almost like you don't want to admit the possibility your mindset was full of soup.
There's no question. Now, let me tell you on top of that, so that's just for openers, so to speak. That's the keystone. Now, what do we have on top of that? There's a coterie out there, individuals who have made this very, very big in their lives. I'm not suggesting anything nefarious or criminal or even immoral or unethical, but this is it. You got this Professor Tracy.
Well, let me jump in. These are the obsessives, the guys. Well, you met these guys. You met these guys, the Kennedy assassination guys, the guys whose whole life evolves around the JFK assassination. Same thing here.
Well, yeah, but the analogous situation vis-a-vis JFK would be the pro-Warren Commission people, the defenders, the government sycophants. Here we have the pro-Ramsey crowd.
No, but you also have hold on a second. I don't want to debate Kennedy. We'll get to the JFK and the new evidence later. Okay, I know about that too. No. What I'm saying is, I've dealt with some of the conspiracy theorists in my time. These are guys who spend 24/7 on the conspiracy. Sure. I'm not saying whether right or wrong. I'm just saying there's an obsession you get really into. There are junkies on this particular case, and that's what you're talking about. I think this coterie of folks.
Well, but they're more than junkies. No, they've been officially or quasi-officially involved. You have See, so I'm not talking about. Let me. You're talking here. Channel 9 TV reporter Paula Woodward. Mm-hmm. She's the one that first got the story about Carr in Thailand. She's the one that first got the story yesterday about the negative DNA. She has been the darling before of Alex Hunter and now of District Attorney Lacey. So you got her and her support of the intruder theory. And you got this Professor Tracy. He's got 3 documentaries.
And what is with this guy? Yeah. This guy making a buck,
exactly. He gets these emails, and he, of course, is goading and enticing and sucking Card in and playing on his psychopathy and getting all his emails. And now he takes these to District Attorney Lacey and says, hey, man, look at this stuff. You got this guy. Then you got Lou Smith, the former homicide detective. And then you've got some previous investigators, a guy named Ollie Gray, and you got former FBI profiler John Douglas. These people have been on board with the intruder. So they all come together. I don't mean that they made their visit together, but all of this comes into play with Lacey. And I would be willing to bet that Lacey did bounce this off, if not every one of those people, then most of them that I have mentioned before she makes her move. Now you've got Mr. Sick Carr over in Thailand saying whatever he did say, because from the Thai people, their version of English seemed to change from day to day, did it not? Mm-hmm. Well, he said this, but supposedly he confesses. So instead of just seeing to it that we get DNA, a test that could be done in 2-3 days, as it was done in Denver. You know, I told everybody that people were asking me, how long does it take? And I said, well, coroners and medical examiners and forensic science labs are always lying to you when we tell you weeks and months.
Right.
One, it may not be a lie, because if the case is not really, really prominent,
it doesn't go to the front of the line.
Okay,
I got
so
you.
it may take weeks or months. And if it is going to go to the front of the line or near the front of the line, we're going to want more time to evaluate it and think about it before. But I said the actual performance of the test can be accomplished in 3 days, and indeed